Well, the Sharks are not feeling the Valentine's Day love in the air tonight, coming out flat against an Edmonton Oilers team that includes familiar faces. The Sharks fall 3-0, and we'll get into that and all of the above here on Teal Town After Dark. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and Teal together with us and interact with us, come check us out on all the social media platforms, that being Twitter, the Instagram, Facebook, the YouTube chat, of course, SoundCloud, Reddit, and all of the shenanigans that go down in the Discord. Find all that and more on tealtownusa.com. And I am pleased to be joined by Ian Reed. Ian, how are you doing this evening? And initial thoughts on this one?
I mean, what a waste of fucking time. Yeah, it was a waste of fucking time. Like, that's it, really what it was. It was funny because like earlier today, like I'm off tomorrow, but like I have to go to, like, I've been working up at like 6 a.m. all week, so I'm like, do I really want to do this show? And I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll do the show. Like, it'll be fine. I'm gonna watch the game. I might as well do the show in case something interesting happens. Then I'll kick myself for not doing the show. No, it was a complete waste of fucking time. I could have went to bed so I could, not sleep all day tomorrow and probably been better off for it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the Sharks did initially come out with some really, really good pressure. I thought in that first 10 minutes of the game, I thought the Sharks definitely carried the play. I felt that they brought it to Edmonton, and then you had one fluky goal kind of start the chain reaction kind of downhill, and we'll go through that right now. You did have James Reimer starting, which was a little interesting because I think the word on the street, I mean, Adin Hill was supposed to be, had gotten better through this 2-week break, but unfortunately we saw James Reimer come out first, and I thought he kind of was a little shaky, especially on those first 2 deflection goals, but kind of eased into it. But we won't beat around the bush anymore. Warren Foegele with his 6th on the season, Ryan and Bouchard with the assists, and that was 6 minutes into the first period. And like I said, I thought the Sharks played well in that first. I thought the first 10 minutes, even after the goals, they still played pretty good. And then it just seemed as if they kind of collectively like, well, we're down 2, I don't think we're really, going to put that much back up on the board. It just seemed like they were kind of resigned to their fate kind of early. Darnell Nurse would add to that a minute and 5 seconds later with his 5th goal on the season. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with the assist there, and that would wrap up your scoring in that first period. Ian, I mean, broad strokes on that first period. I mean, what was working well for the first 5-10 minutes for the Sharks, and then where did you see it go wrong?
I think they came out with a lot of jump in the first, and I think they probably surprised the Oilers a little because the Oilers have been playing, they're making up a lot of games. Obviously, a lot of the Canadian teams are, and the Sharks have been off for 2 weeks. So I thought, they came out with a little bit of jump, but then they just couldn't keep that intensity going. And then I think the Oilers played their game. There's like the way Jay Woodcroft has them playing so far, there has been a little more emphasis on defense, and they were able to start hemming the Sharks in. It's funny, right? Because like you start hemming the Sharks in, but at the same time, like, geez, like, if only you had a defenseman who could move the puck and maybe, make a good first pass, and maybe he shouldn't be on the Barracuda right now, but fuck do I know.
Or I think he was riding the Pine Pony tonight, but yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be a Sharks podcast or Sharks vodcast without mentioning, Ryan Merkley. Another really weird situation going on with him and the coaching staff, because he was kind of in the doghouse on the end of that trip. And really, I mean, he must have done something to piss him off because, he was called up today, but was riding the Pine Pony. And I'm exactly with you on that one, Ian, because when he's in the lineup, their breakouts are just so much smoother. They're not getting these pucks picked off, with a Brent Burns trying to launch players every which way in that on these breakaway attempts and just get eaten up in the neutral zone.
It sucks, right? Because like you would just think like I don't understand why like Bugner does some of the things he does. And this is one of those things, right? Like you lose a guy like Erik Karlsson, who I think the Sharks are definitely missing right now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, anybody who says different, I think,
they're idiots. They're just fucking idiots. Like,
because
I'm taking no prisoners tonight.
Yeah, and despite what he makes, he still is a net positive for the team.
He's been a positive on this team this year.
Yep.
If you're one of these people that is like that just doesn't think that thinks Erik Karlsson's hurt this fucking team this year, you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
An absolute fucking idiot. And I don't care if you stop listening because you're an idiot and we don't need you.
No, and so you're missing that Erik Karlsson sized piece in the lineup, and who replaces that best?
Instead you bring up you put in a guy who's never gonna fucking be in a Milosh. Like you know what I mean? Like Magnum Milosh, like are these guys NHLers on any other fucking team other than maybe the Coyotes? No, they're fucking not.
Right. And I think also, too, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about what this is doing to Ryan Merkley's development. Because, look, he's getting some playing time in the Barracuda, but this is also a kid who started to taste the NHL, and you can't just stop.
Though. Like, the only reason he's playing on the Barracuda was because they were off for a bajillion days.
Right.
So, other than that, he's been stuck on the fucking taxi squad. Like, this team isn't making the playoffs. I don't know if you need me to spell that out for you at this point, but this team's not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
and not in the
what
state
do you have
that
to
it's
fucking
in.
lose?
Yeah.
Like, even if you're on Team Tank, so fucking play, play the kids. Give the kids opportunity to fucking find their game. Not, oh, well, you made a mistake and, you cost us the all important, fucking fifth goal in a 7-1 loss. Oh, now you got to ride the fucking pine for 2 months. Like, this team's so fucking dumb. It's run by idiots. It's coached by an idiot. Like Bob Bugner's fucking dollar store Peter DeBoer.
Yeah, and there hasn't really been much shift and especially I think where it really shines through is the offense. I think the offense has stagnated. It stagnated under Peter DeBoer. It had been an issue. 5-on-5 last year was abysmal. I mean, this year it's gotten a little better, but it's so anemic. It's so bipolar. It can offer us 3 or 4 goals on one night, but they'll let in 5 goals and still lose 5-4. Or if you're getting getting a fairly good goaltended game, they end up losing 2-1. And that's
the only difference right now. Like James Reimer, like I know you weren't too thrilled with the goals he let in, but fuck, James Reimer is like the only guy.
I just said he looked a little shaky. The deflections are hard for anybody, and
for sure, deflections suck.
Yeah,
but James Reimer, I think if you to a man, like he's the only guy who I'm not pissed off at tonight.
Yeah, no, he held them in. I mean, in that after that onslaught, and within a minute that they got those 2 goals, the Sharks looked nervous. They looked rattled, and he kind of kept them in. And he would let in 1 more, but again, I think if you look at the totality of the night, it was not. None of those were on him. No. Thank you, Skylar, for the super chat. We appreciate it. Of course, you can always support the cause here on the YouTube chat, but we also have the Venmo as well at Tealtown USA. And we really appreciate everybody's donations and everybody getting on the show.
Even if YouTube's taking it all tonight.
But I think you bring up a great point, though. I mean, the defense. I think the defensive positioning in front of Reimer was what let him down. I think they were out of position and getting caught out quite a bit, and Reimer had to make some really athletic saves. And I think that the team also maybe played almost so frightened of Connor McDavid that they let them kind of inch into the ice and dominate possession a little bit more than I was, than what they needed to do tonight. Because I think possession of the puck was an issue.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that it was just like, I just think they just couldn't get out of their own zone, right? And even when they did, like the Oilers were there to turn the puck back the other direction. Even on their can we talk about the power play? Like the power play.
I mean, the power play has been in flux. It hasn't been settled upon. I think the Nick Bonino experiment on the power play needs to end. I just don't see him having enough skill this far into his career to play on the power play. It's something that we talked about prior to the break. Yeah. And again, it's just like hitting your head on a cement wall. It's just literally repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again.
I want to get to Birch because Birch did give the super chat, and underneath he's can we talk about how Edmonton's rebuild hasn't worked to the point where they become a dominant team? Here's the problem with that, right? Because anytime anyone brings up a rebuild, I'm not angry at Birch here. I'm not like I don't want to. I know I'm.
It's a valid talking point.
But yeah, no, and I want to answer this fairly. I don't want to come off like, because I know I'm kind of just spitting fire tonight. I don't want to. As much as I said, like, whatever. We don't need you. Like, we like our people. All right, so I just want to say this, right? I understand how people they're like, oh, well, rebuild, yeah, well, look what it's done for Buffalo and Edmonton and blah blah blah, right? But we're gonna ignore Tampa, we're gonna ignore Carolina, right? Like, we're just gonna ignore when it works, and that's the part of this conversation that really drives me crazy.
Yeah,
is like, yeah, you're right. Sometimes some management groups completely fuck it up. Edmonton, Buffalo, right?
Arizona,
right? And I think the other thing that you have to understand too is, like, with rebuilds, it's really easy to be in a perpetual state of rebuild. It takes a lot of balls to be like, okay, now we're ready to fucking go forward, right?
Yeah. Just quickly, Skylar, really appreciate the second one there. He says, Landy, thanks for the donation, and then doesn't read it. Okay, so his first donation says, the angry Canadian robot never breaks, sorry, Russia. Yeah, I think tonight we definitely got a dose of angry Canadian, that is for sure. But going back
I think that, like, on the rebuild talk, right?
Yeah,
rebuild. Like, again, some management groups completely clusterfuck it. I'm not completely confident that the Sharks wouldn't clusterfuck it, to be completely honest.
Well, and the atmosphere in Edmonton was country club toxic-esque, right, for such a long time. It was a bunch of guys that got paid a lot of money very early without, dominant, stable veterans, and that's always a recipe for disaster, and it leaves a sour taste in the organization's mouth for a long time. Well,
not even that, but I mean, look at Edmonton right now, and what is Edmonton missing that a contending team should have? Goaltending.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. Like, you have to still, like, you're not going to rebuild and get foundational pieces in every position. Like, sometimes you have to go out and do GM things and find better players. But Edmonton this summer was like, nah, we'll just come back with the same goaltending. What could possibly go wrong? Well, we've seen what could possibly go wrong, right?
Well, and speaking to that, they have been linked to one of your favorites out there, Ian. Martin Jones was rumored to be, the Edmonton Oilers were courting the Philadelphia Flyers for Martin Jones. I believe the word on the street was a 5th-round pick. But, I mean, if they've gotten that far, if it's gotten that bad to where you're giving any kind of compensation up for Martin Jones, Lord save your organization depth.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Because obviously the Flyers are not having the season they want to have, and they're gonna probably blow up some pieces here, right? Yeah. They're gonna jettison some pieces. Martin Jones makes a lot of sense. I mean, goalies don't generally don't get you a decent return anyway, but they're not abundant. A team like Buffalo too, like, probably was hurting for a goaltender at one point, until they got guys healthy-ish. I don't know. I just, like I said, I think the point stands. Like, yes, going back to my point though, management groups can totally fuck up a rebuild, right? So I understand why people would be a little bit hesitant, but like, let's pretend like rebuilds are a thing because they have worked for some teams.
Yeah.
And the last Stanley Cup champions, plural. Like, look at Tampa. Tampa's been a team of fucking peaks and troughs, man.
Yeah.
When they've been down, they've been down.
Yeah. Yeah. And
but
then
their highs have been the best. So, I mean.
Exactly. And I mean, quickly, I guess, shifting gears back towards the game, and we'll just round it out here. After that first period, shots were 11-10 in favor of Edmonton. In that second period, though, there was no scoring, but this should just scream at anybody who still feels a modicum of hope. In that second period, Edmonton outshot the Sharks 14-2.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get shots when you're not leaving your zone.
And really, that was where really Reimer started to stand on his head. I think he kept them in that second period, and then they go into the third down 2-0. And Connor McDavid, of course, would do Connor McDavid things and score a minute and 50 seconds into that third period. Edmonton up 3-0, and that would be your final. Bouchard would get the assist there, but I'm going to give you the shot rundown totals here, Ian. 41-20, 41 shots to 20. Yeah, that's a failure on defensive coaching right there.
Well, I mean, it's a failure on defense. It's a failure on offensive coaching.
That too.
Like, let's talk about the power play. Let's talk about this second power play unit that allowed a 3-on-1.
Yep.
0 for 3, really, because
the abbreviated, right? We'll be a little nice.
We'll be a little nice, but like, I mean, the power play is supposed to be about scoring goals, right? And this isn't my take. This isn't my take, so I'm not going to completely take credit for this one because I saw it and it's so true. Like, you look at the guys that are on this second unit, and the amount of goals that they've scored. Period. You've got a guy who's got 1 NHL goal.
Yep.
But his grit per 60 must be through the fucking roof. You've got a guy with 5 goals this season.
Yeah.
Like, the power play, you're trying to you can get mad at the power play, but how do you get mad at the power play and not the coach that's granted, the Sharks aren't an offensive juggernaut this year, but when your second power play unit has guys that just haven't fucking scored goals in any situation this year, how do you expect that to win? You're setting them up to fail.
Yeah. And the other thing too is you're starting to see, especially tonight, I thought Edmonton took some liberties, especially that really rough cross check on Nick Bonino into the boards on the power play, and there was zero response from the team, and again, you don't like the fact that you get outshot 41-20, but there are things that you can still control. You can still control the fact that other teams aren't going to take liberties against your player.
For sure.
But on the power play, the Sharks have now slipped to 22nd in the league, 18.2%. Not great.
Well, I mean, but they're going to grit the puck into the net. That's the power play plan, apparently, is just grit the puck into the net.
Yeah.
If we look menacing at the puck enough, it will go in. Because they don't sure as fuck put guys that can score out there.
Yeah.
Rudolph Balcer's hurt again. Super shitty. But, again, Lane Peterson's on the fucking power play over Rudolph Balcer's. What fucking world are we living in?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I'm thinking I liked the movement on the second power play unit. I think it was their second attempt. I felt
but you can move the puck all you want, but if you don't have guys who can put the puck in the back of the net in the NHL,
then what's the point of
what are we doing?
Yeah, we're just playing shimmy, so. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, and I think that the team right now needs to find a direction to move the rope in together, because I think, again, coming out of that break, I was thinking, okay, you know what? This team should be refocused. It should be, really gearing up for these in-division games that are crucial to this part of the season. And for their first pop quiz, of the second half, I'm giving them an F on this one. I don't think there's any other grade, outside of that for tonight's performance. And
oh yeah, it's this game is. This game's a joke, right? I mean, and now they're, again, I've been on this. You go back, the internet never forgets, as I like to say. You can go back and you can watch any show I've been on, and I've been on a lot of them of late. And, before the break, the Sharks were, in the hunt, but they weren't. Right. Because we knew, you looked at the games in hand, and you knew once those games in hand started catching up, they were going to fall to the bottom of the division, and here they are. But if you were going to entertain any idea that they're going to make a move, like, these are the games you have to actually show up and play.
Yep.
These are the teams you're supposed to be competing with for a playoff spot. Now, it's a joke. They're not competing with anything. They're a fucking tire fire. Right? Like, this team is not going to sniff the playoffs.
I think the next
sellers at the deadline.
Yeah, the next question is just going to be, how bad is the division going to beat up on the Sharks? Because I'm looking at this game against Vegas, and I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I don't even want to put this thing on, because at this point, the team is their body language is kind of showing up on the bench, as we're kind of wilting here. Statistics wise on their statistical metrics, everything says that in division opponent is going to just eat them alive, especially the ones above them in the standings. And I think that this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, Ian. I think we're gonna.
Oh yeah.
I think we're gonna be in for a rough ride in these last 30 some odd games.
Yeah, and I mean, look at, like, they definitely not. And again, they didn't play well enough to win tonight. But like they keep catching teams at bad times, right? Yeah. It's like Edmonton's like going through this nosedive, and then we're gonna fire a coach, and Jay Woodcroft's gonna be the guy, and now we're gonna play the Sharks, right? Same thing happened against Vancouver. But like, yeah, Vegas is gonna demo them. Yeah. Fucking demo them. Right?
And Logan Teal, real quick, I just wanted to get this to the chat. Why are we preaching the illusion that they're trying to win when this is the effort that's put out? And I think why this is interesting is because we're getting the lip service from the front office that this is supposed to be a win now team, and yet we can all see with our eyes, we don't need to be told that it's raining and somebody's peeing on us, right? So in that respect, it's this point, I don't take anything coming out of the front office at anything but face value, because quite honestly, I think there's a disconnect between the results on the ice and what the team's vision is for this particular set of.
It's just a couple pieces.
Yeah,
just a couple pieces. They're fine.
Yeah.
No, like.
And then, of course, now we're left with questions about the leadership and what's happening, health-wise, and what this does for the team insofar as, okay, it seems like Joe Will is running the show here, but it also seems that Doug Wilson still, is checking in day to day, and I guess.
Come on, like, you think Doug Wilson's doesn't have any say in what's going on here? You don't think Doug Wilson's going to be running? Like, he doesn't have to be there. Right. Like, this guy is going to get fired at some point, but he's not going to get fired. He's going to get promoted to like president of hockey ops or some shit. And he's going to be still the fucking puppet master. Right? They're going to, everyone's going to be like, oh man, yeah, Doug Jr.'s GM now. Everything's going to fucking shit. Nope. Don't worry. The strings are all fucking still there, guys. Like, this team's done. Okay, here. And like, okay. I don't know, maybe. Like, and okay, so like, I see AJ in the chat. I see you, AJ. Like, you maybe you should come on, because like, we've lost a lot of games this year but I haven't done very many shows like this,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, this team's garbage. We've said this all fucking year. But I haven't been this mad at this team very many times this year. Why? Because even though they suck and we know they suck,
the effort was there. You could see it.
Listless.
Right.
Through a fucking game.
Exactly.
Right?
I think
it's how you lose. It's how you lose is important too.
Right.
And there's been games where, it's like, yeah, they got beat by a better team or, but tonight, like,
this felt like the Tampa Bay game. This kind of beating felt like the Tampa Bay game to me, where it was after they saw that they were just getting outclassed by a better opponent. It just shut down. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or just shelling up at least, and yeah, it's just I think
it's just dumb lineup decisions, listless play. Like it was a waste. Like there have been games where they've lost where I haven't felt like I wasted my time like I did tonight. I think that's the fucking difference.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think, and that puts the nose right on the or puts the target right on the nose, because I think we've all said, look, this team, whether it wants to admit it or not, is in a transitional phase, and it needs to be working on things like effort and chemistry and culture and things that don't necessarily always translate to on ice, but at least it's moving in a positive direction. This team,
I don't think the culture is broken. Like I don't know, man. Like I don't think the culture is broken. Like as much as I don't like Bob Boughner, like this team has stretches played for him. Like you see, there is structure. Maybe I don't like the structure. Maybe I don't like the X's and O's of it, but they're playing it.
Well, at least not tonight. I mean, tonight was very
did,
listless.
But they have, right?
Yeah,
like they have.
I got you. But I guess then my question to you is this: because we are seeing these ebbs and flows and effort was an issue last season. I mean, where do you start pointing the finger now at this? Is this on player, on player, or is it on coaching staff, or is it on both, or is it on just
on the front office?
Front office, okay.
It's on the front office. Like, how is it not? This is the one thing I don't understand about this fan base, right? Everyone wants everyone held accountable. Oh, well, why isn't Brent Burns being held accountable the same way that
Ryan
Merkley's being held accountable? Blah 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 blah. Why isn't Bob Boughner? Like, who hired Bob Boughner? Who hired Peter DeBoer before that?
Tom McClellan.
Who signed everyone to meet $1 million deals? Like, why? I don't understand, because that's the one thing I always get pushback on is like, oh, but Doug Wilson made good trades 10 years ago. Like, why is everybody in this fucking thing supposed to be held accountable but Doug Wilson? Like, Doug Wilson, that's a step too far. You can't hold Doug Wilson accountable for this. It's not his fault. He's not playing. Blah, 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 blah. Like, fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there had been, especially in the 14-15 season, right? I think that there had been calls. We had the fire Doug Wilson chance or whatever, and the team gets kind of back on the roll again. But I think even then we started seeing the cracks in the foundation. I think even then we saw that, look, this is a group of core veterans that were starting to age out, and there wasn't a clear progression to the next lineage. I think
there was. They picked the wrong guys, and that happens, right? Like that happens. And you know what? At the time, I was fine with that direction. So it's not like I'm, but obviously it doesn't work out. And sometimes
I'm just saying that culture, or not culture, but that I guess continual use of draft capital and not having having an eye towards the future, yes, and keeping your eyes on the road in front of you. Is it's an art form to balance those two things. But I think that the balance was so mismatched or so imbalanced, meaning the draft capital that was being spent, the young prospects that were getting shipped out, it put the team behind the 8 ball and just delayed the inevitable, which we are now catching up and paying for. And that's, I think when we need to see is the on-ice product isn't a result of last year's draft or 2 years draft. This is a result of 5 years ago draft, 6 years ago draft.
Well, and that's okay. And here's the thing with that, right? Like, I mean, like, here's the hard part, right? Is like this team went all in. They thought they had a few more kicks at the can, right? For good reason. I mean, we have to remember, like, everyone's like, oh my God, we can't let fucking Tomas Hertl leave for nothing like we let Joe Pavelski leave for nothing. Bitch, when Joe Pavelski left for nothing, they made the conference fucking finals. Right? Like, how fucking stupid. But the problem is now those days are gone.
Yeah.
And the sooner the Sharks accept those days are gone, the better. Like, I would hope this season would be like, okay, now obviously maybe we're not a few steps away. Obviously they're going to come out and try and say, we could do whatever because we won't want people to stop coming. Bitch, people have already stopped coming.
Right. Right? And I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about tonight's attendance, and I'll pull it up on ESPN, but from your vantage point, Ian, I mean, you saw it on TV like I did. Mm-hmm. That was bad. I think that was one of the worst games I have seen this entire season, and this has been the worst season for the Sharks, I think, in attendance, and I think we could all pretty much, put that in the last 10 years. I think this has been the worst season.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem, right? It's like, and I've said this a bunch, if you make the right decisions on the ice, the attendance issues will sort themselves out.
11.5K was the official number of scanned tickets.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? Like, there's no instant thing that's going to fix that, right? Re-signing Tomas Hertl's not going to fix it. Letting him go isn't going to fix it. Like, there's no solution. So you have to just make the best decisions on the hockey side of things. If you let the business side determine the hockey side, then you're the fucking Arizona Coyotes. Have fun with that.
Yeah, and we've seen, how those decisions have now forced this team into what can only be described as the worst possible situation of situations for a home rink. Next year is going to be entirely brutal, and the only reason why I bring it up is because the San Jose Sharks affiliate, the Barracuda, decided to poke a little fun at the Arizona Coyotes this evening. If you hadn't seen it on Twitter,
as well they should.
they literally straight up said, "I think ours is bigger," and it was tongue in cheek, yes, but I think it just goes to show you the sorry state that a franchise can go when it's just languishing year after year after year. Now the Sharks are nowhere near that, but I think what we're saying is that 1 year becomes 2 years, become 3 years. You know what I mean? At
some point you have to pull the ripcord.
Yep.
You can't deny inevitability, and this team is in trouble. And this team isn't going to be a William Eklund from being a playoff team next year. You at some point you have to start pull the ripcord. And I think the one thing that's true, like, again, there's no quick solution, right? Like, everyone's like, oh well, they got rid of Martin Jones, fat lot of good that did them. It's like, yeah, we knew that wasn't going to fix them, but like with James Reimer, they've been better. Like, they have been in games. Yeah, they haven't. Maybe it hasn't translated into more wins, but they've been in more games than they were last year. Like, if you can't tell the difference between James Reimer this year and Martin Jones last year, I can't fucking help you.
Then you probably are watching the wrong game.
Right? Like, I can't help you at that point. But there's not one thing that's going to fix this mess. But you have to make the little steps that hopefully will become big, that will make big steps down the road.
Yeah.
So again, maybe this offseason, you move another contractor, you decide what you're going to do with Hertl. Again, I don't know, but I mean, like, you have to start making steps now to turn things around. And yeah, there's no There's nothing that the Sharks are going to do this offseason that's going to make them a playoff team next year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. There's no magic bullet here, and like you had said, you know, they're not a William Eklund away. They're a William Eklund plus away. You know, I think at this point I see 2 to 3 really gaping holes on the forward side.
Well, you have boat anchors like Marc-Edouard Vlasic
on the defensive side of the puck, and
right, like until you can get rid of some of that, like how do you turn this around? That's the problem, is like, you know, I still think, you know, like there's guys that you could probably trade for value. Like I still think, as much as people might be a little sour on Brent Burns, like I still think someone would pay for Brent Burns.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look right now, Florida, a team like Florida, hello, I mean, a reunite with Jumbo for a run. I mean, you look at a Minnesota who might want to be reunited with another piece on the back end, and now you have Dumba who leads their core, but you know, this is a guy that can add a little bit of pop on a second or third pairing, and you know, you're absolutely right. There are a bunch of teams that could really utilize a player like that, and I think unfortunately it's going to take some ripping off of band-aids and some trading of some foundational pieces that, you know, we've grown accustomed to being in the lineup, but for the sake of the franchise and for to move this ship forward, you know, you're gonna have to take a couple steps back, and I think that's going to be one of them.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot in the chat about buying out Vlasic. I still think, like, look at buying out Vlasic, I think would be smart. I just don't know if you do it this year. I think you wait until, I think you might drag that out a little bit.
It's very close to the Martin Jones
one. To get the no, not even that. Like because the penalty is going to be significantly more. I think you might want to drag that one out a little bit just to bring down the penalty for it, for the buyout.
Or you can maybe see if you could find a trade and seeing if you could hold up about half that money. I mean, somebody might take him.
Someone might do that too, and that would be. I can't imagine. I mean, I can imagine because sometimes hockey GMs do galaxy brain stuff, but I can't imagine. And even at half value, do you want Vlasic for half value? I don't know, man. Like, Marc-Edouard Vlasic is not the player he used to be.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that there are just no real easy solutions at the moment, you know, for the team. And again, I think we're gonna start to see some real slugfests, and we're gonna see some real. They're gonna get taken to the curb in this next month.
This is gonna get worse before it gets better, for sure.
That's for sure. Well, I think we have beaten this horse to kind of a bloody pulp at this point. Let's go ahead and let's do your favorite segment and my favorite segment.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
Well, at least somebody's getting lucky on Valentine's Day. Anyhow, your scores around the NHL. It was a light Monday. The Wild beat up on the Red Wings 7-4. Boldy getting getting the hat trick tonight. You got Kirill Kaprizov with the goal, Eriksson Ek with a goal. Kaprizov with 2 goals and Ryan Hartman with a goal. Maple Leafs beat the Kraken 6-2. The scoring for the Maple Leafs were Kerfoot, Bunting, Kasha, Marner, Kempf, and Muzzin. Then the Blackhawks beat the Jets 3-1. Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat, and Brandon Hagel with the goals. 3-1 against the Jets. And then, of course, to round it all out, the Oilers beat our San Jose Sharks 3-0. Okay. Coming up,
Alex DeBrincat, man. Alex DeBrincat. Imagine thinking Alex DeBrincat, it was too small to draft in the first round. Fucking GMs are dumb.
Yeah, and the Sharks will be playing a team they'll be looking up at in the standings come Thursday night.
Isn't that everybody other than like Seattle?
You're right. Vancouver will be playing, the San Jose Sharks, and at this point, Ian, what do you expect, and what are you feeling, and is there a path out of this for the Sharks with their play on the ice? I don't see it, but
there's no path out of this. Like, I think this season's cooked. But I think they can play better than they did tonight, right? I think that's what you want. I mean, I think when you look at this team, you want to see positive signs of growth. You want to see, this is what you want to see at this point, right? You want to see guys that are going to be here for the long haul play well. You want to see the Sharks be better for James Reimer. You want to see Adin Hill get healthy, get a few starts, and build on some of the good games that he had before he got hurt. Those are the things that you hope for at this point. But I mean, like, big picture, I mean, this season's cooked.
Yep. I think Ian is definitely spouting the words of wisdom here, because again, I as far as from the play on the ice and what we've seen from the front office to the coaching staff, I have to agree, and I think that this team right now is a team kind of reminds me of a Minnesota Wild team of 3 or 4 years ago, where they're just continuing to pull on the string, just one more chance, one more kick at the can, mushy middle, whatever the hell you want to call it, but this quagmire, this limbo, and I think.
But they're not even in the middle; they're in the bottom tier. Like
that is true. That is true as well. I keep thinking that this team is higher in the standings, but you're right. It's just It's just straight up
they're
garbage.
Just a bad team.
Yeah,
they're just a bad team with a lot of bad contracts.
Yeah,
and no plan.
Well, if that wasn't inspiring enough, in case you missed us and you want to see this show again, catch us on all of your podcast catchers of choice, that being the Apple Podcast Store, the Google Play Store. You can also catch us on the YouTube Rewind. You've got the SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and of course iHeartRadio. We are on a lot of different platforms, people, so go out and consume that content. Of course, you can also find all of our consumables over at tealtownusa.com. And quickly for myself, I just want to see a team that puts a little bit more of a consistent effort out. A team that's playing for one another, playing for their goaltender, who quietly had a 929 or 923 save percentage tonight. And again, I think the team just needs to start focusing on the little things first, and I think the bigger their bigger picture of play will kind of come into focus, but they're not even doing the little things right at this point. So for me, I'm at Eric Landi across all of the social media garbage. And Ian, where can the people find you? And final thoughts?
At Ian Blogs Hockey. Final thoughts. I know I said I was angry tonight. The Sharks wasted my time, and I tried not to waste yours.
You need some therapy.
A lot of mean things rhetorically tonight. Don't take it personally. Unless you feel you should take it personally, then I guess maybe you should. I don't know. But I do appreciate everyone watching tonight. I do appreciate all the love on social media. I mean, it's when the Sharks do bad, it's bad. What can I say?
Yeah. And as far as my final thoughts go, that's the same. I think that this team right now, we're all.
Oh, and when we do play Vegas, get the hand cream ready, guys. Vegas is coming up. It's time to wank over Game 7, 2016. Whatever fucking year it was.
Grab your beer.
How long was that?
What was that?
No, it
4
wasn't
years?
2016. It was 20. Whatever. Grab your fucking
17.
Get it ready for that.
Yeah, get your Edward 40 hands going there, because there's going to be a lot of drinking once they mention that Game 7. That's for sure. But for all of us, let's see if I can get this right. Keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real, Teal. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night. We will see you after the game on Thursday.